you're a parent, you'll know about poppets because they are everywhere in my house. And this cake was requested by my own daughter. So here I'm making a topper for her birthday cake. So I started off with rolling out a base for the cake topper, and it's no more than 1 centimetre thick. I've then pushed a lolly stick into that, used a little bit of edible glue just to help it hold. Now I'm going to go over them in different colour strips. I measure these out lengthwise, doesn't matter too much because we're going to cut around it, as you'll see in a bit. But they need to be the same depth, so around 2 centimetres. And the little strips that I stand up in between them are around 1 centimetre. Again, they all need to be around the same size so it looks more uniformed when it's finished. And just to add, because I haven't said yet, but I am using Saracino's modelling paste that I've just coloured myself. Once made, I leave it to set for a couple of days just so it sets so it's easier to fit to the cake. I'm using a smaller plastic piping bag coupler. To get the domey pieces, you just put cling film over and it helps them pop up. And then to get these bigger rings, I use a piping tip because it's a little bit wider, and then use the coupler again in the middle of them to get the nice ring to put around the outside, keeps it nice and neat. So as long as you've got two circular things, one smaller than the other, you'll get the same effect when making the poppets. And here I just repeat in all of the colours. Now you can see it's starting to come together. So now on to creating the shape of our poppet. So here I've got a sharp craft knife, always use a sharp knife. So I go around and do the outline first. This one's going to be a pretty heart shape. So I'm just cutting into that modelling paste and putting that away as I go, so it's nice and neat. Tidy up the edges, and then I move on to the outer part. Now remembering the base is roughly 1 centimetre, then we've got our layer of fondant on top of that. The bits that we've stood up in between are about 1 centimetre, so you need these edge bits to come up to roughly where they are, again to make it all look nice and neat. So I measured these out. I think these come up at about just over 2 centimetres, but again, yours might differ ever so slightly. Just use a ruler and make sure you get it as close as possible to them bits that are standing up, because it just gives it a tidier finish. So here I just move on to finish off the last top section of that heart, tucking that in using an end of a paintbrush because it's nice and skinny. Cut away the excess. Now I haven't glued anything, any of my actual poppet bits yet. I like to make sure I've got the shape and everything how I like it. And now I go back in with some edible glue and just stick them all down so they're nice and secure. And then there's the first one done. That's our heart shape finished. So now just to give you an idea of how to use that method and just to do it with other shapes, I go on to make a cupcake. Now this time I don't use the lolly stick in the end because this one is actually going to sit onto the cake rather than on top of the cake. So again, I just use the same method to create it. So just cutting out the cupcake shape and making sure our edges are nice and clear, and then going in and doing the same with the side pieces again. So again, just over the 2 centimetres. So just skipped on to the last section here on the top of the cupcake poppet. Doing the same that I did on the heart, just tucking that in, cutting off any excess, and there is our cupcake. So for the visual effect, I will just show you how I put together the cake that I make using the poppet theme. I use a 6-inch barrel cake, so nice and tall. Cover that in lots of buttercream, yummy. Then for the front, I'm making the name, which I've just made my own template for, and then just doing everything in the same colour palette so it all looks uniformed on the cake. Not that you have to do that, you can do whatever you want because it would be your theme. Just covering that tall cake now, and this is just a cake dummy that I put on top just for the effect of the cake. And then using some of that leftover sugar paste, I made some of these twisted ropes to sit around the base of the cakes. Also made a lollipopper, which I add at the bottom, add the heart one to the top, and then our cupcake one to the front. And there you have it, our finished poppet cake. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll speak to you all again soon.